Shashi Tharoor, Maruf Raza, General Shankar Prasad, welcome to the show. It was categorical, Shashi Tharoor, to you first. When Pakistani Foreign Minister was asked, where is Masood Azhar? He said he's in custody. This was 2 days back. Now they say they have no idea where he is. How does one handle these kind of U-turns, and can we afford to ignore them anymore?
We have to ask ourselves what the choices are. I mean, very clearly there's something rather odd about this, but there's also something rather odd about the Prime Minister of India being promised a visit by the Director General of the ISI, and then it being announced that the Prime Minister had misunderstood the conversation, even though a press release had been issued the same day by the Office of the Prime Minister of Pakistan confirming in writing what the Indians had understood. So there are some strange things going on in that country. The real question is, of course, who calls the shots there, who controls what? And this is a huge dilemma India has in dealing with that government.
That is the biggest concern, isn't it, Maruf? Whose words count in Pakistan? Zardari on record says it wasn't an airspace violation. Today they actually go and complain about an airspace violation. Does the President's word mean nothing, amount to nothing? Who are we talking to?
There could be one or two things happening. One is, I mean, on the face of it, maybe Zardari is just being very systematically misled to allow him to continue to lose credibility till he reaches a point where his words don't count anymore. You must remember that Zardari has come in by the back door in Pakistan politics, and there are a lot of people who do not accept him as a fully credibly elected president. But I think more importantly, the Indian government must now realize that who they should be doing business with and who they should be talking to. In Pakistan, clearly the military, headed by General Ashfaq Kayani, are in control. And if you want to have any serious dialogue with Pakistan, and if the international community has to get Pakistan to fall in line with its demands, they must get the shadowy General Kayani, who, if you may remember, was earlier the head of the ISI. And therefore, he is quite involved with the whole process of intelligence, military counter activity to India. So you must have the military brass on board in the dialogue, and let's not get swayed by a passion for democracy and look at Pakistan from our own prism and then just talk to civilian leadership, because again and again, the civilian leadership completely have proved to us that they are not in control, they are ill-informed, and they're obviously being reined in by the military. Every time they make an assertion, a day or two later, they go back on it. And as far as the claim about airspace violation and military activity that India has been stepping up, this is clearly the kind of angle that Pakistan wants to project to America in particular and the world in general, that it does not trust India and it is expecting a military action by India, which will then allow it to extricate its troops from the northwest frontier and Waziristan and get out from the quagmire that they are stuck in.
Maruf, I have a fundamental question. I'm going to go to General Prasad in just a bit, but I want to go back to you, Shashi, because you made the point now. We've already got 3 U-turns listed between you and Maruf. Sending the ISI chief, Shashi Tharoor, mentioned that. Obvious U-turn. Denying Masood Azhar's presence, obvious U-turn. Airspace violation, President says it didn't happen. Government says it happened. Complaints about it, obvious U-turn. Going soft on the JUD, obvious U-turn. Almost admitting in Pakistan that Kasab is a Pakistani wanting his custody, then going back on it, 5th U-turn. Now, if all of this, Shashi, as Maruf says, is being controlled by General Kayani, then who are we talking to? The entire situation seems highly ironical. What would you suggest as a seasoned diplomat we do?
No, look, we certainly know that whereas in our country the state has an army, in Pakistan the army has a state. This has been true quite literally when they've ruled the country for the majority of the years after independence. And when they've not been ruling overtly, they've been ruling covertly. This has been fairly clear. No elected government in Pakistan, no civilian government has lasted its full term. It's always been overthrown before the end. So the red lines are laid down by the army, and the civilian government essentially knows that it can't cross certain lines in addition to the 5 you mentioned. So we have to put pressure on them through people whom they will listen to, which is in other words the United States, in particular the US military and the US intelligence, which have intimate relations with their counterparts in Pakistan going back 3 decades or more. That's the way in which we have to use our diplomacy to get results in Pakistan.
Well, we need to do that fast. General Shankar Prasad, watching this happen, we are worried about the military aspect of it. When you complain there's been an airspace violation and your president says, no, it happened somewhere 40,000 feet up there, it cannot technically be called an incursion. And if they are saying right now it was an incursion, what are they trying to do? Is that an aggressive military posture or just diplomacy?
Well, I really don't know how to look at it all. The fact of the matter is very simple, that in Pakistan there are three distinct parties that rule the country. The so-called elected government, headed by the President and the Prime Minister, the Chief of the Army Staff, and the Chief of the ISI. The ISI and the Army work together. Now, whatever Mr. Zardari or Mr. Gilani may keep saying is something quite different from what the military and the ISI is planning. We must understand in the first place that the entire aspect of terrorism, the entire aspect of insurgency in Kashmir, the entire aspect of having belligerent attitude towards India is the brainchild of the ISI, is to be executed by the military. Now, once we are clear about the basics, there is no point in listening to what A, B or C is saying. They are all nice diplomatic remarks, mean nothing to us, mean nothing to government of India. The second important aspect is that we must get the country ready to go to a hard option. Unless we can demonstrate to Pakistan that we are a nation which means business and are not poodle faking with them, then I think we'll continue to suffer from what we are suffering today.
But we've ruled
Let's
out...
get a civil defense in order.
General Prasad, let me go to Maruf and Shashi, and we've ruled out that option. Pranab Mukherjee said, the last part of his speech, he said war is not an option, striking is not an option. Well, and Maruf, I'm sure you heard A.K. Antony also say yesterday that military strikes are not an option.